Hi, my name is Nan Reed. I live at 21 Collins Street in Newburyport. And I just want to say, congratulations to everyone who worked very hard. Just even coming up with this is an effort, so good job. I generally really like the plan. I'd like to see, I noticed that there's a lot of deciduous trees there. Maybe it's just for purposes, but maybe some evergreens would be nice because in the winter, it's going to look kind of barren in my opinion. You talked about sort of a cover space that might be usable a little bit more during inclement times and colder weather. I'd like to see that maybe put into the proposition RFP to the developers where there had to be some type of awning, what have you, something like that I think would go nicely. It is similar to what you see at the Firehouse. And I guess I think there's probably a lot of people in this room that are concerned about the financing aspects. Obviously, we're in tenuous times here. We want to make sure that the developer that is chosen and has some deep pockets, that financing is lined up, that it's a done deal, because none of us want to see us make this bold step and put our faith in this and have high expectations only to be dashed by another freight recession or something of that nature. So I would just, my personal opinion be that there's some transparency in that regard with developers. But overall, good job. Well done.
I think we can respond to a couple of those points. First off, none of us claim that we can prevent another Great Recession. But there are a lot of other things that can happen if this process is not done correctly. And you've seen it done, or we professionals have seen it done in other places where developers have been selected, they didn't have the financial capacity, they were given possession of the site, and then they just sat on it for 10 or 20 years and they couldn't be yanked out. We're not going to let that happen. The request for proposal process that we're going to go through, that the NRA is committed to go through, is one that will be very diligent and very careful in picking only a well-qualified developer with a track record of having developed comparable types and scale of project with financing capacity, and possession of the property will not be provided, will not be given to that developer until they are ready to start construction. Short of guaranteeing that we'll prevent a recession, I think we can handle that. And the other thing that will be a goal of this RFP, and our initial projections certainly make us feel confident that it's plausible, is that the development will pay for the public open space and the public parking on site, both construction and ongoing maintenance. We can't guarantee that until the proposals are in, but we think that there's a very good chance of that, and that will be our
My name is Bob Loisel, 65 Federal Street. And I know that there, you read the paper, there's one huge chunk of the population that says we don't want any development on there at all, we want it all for the city to do it. And then you get the other side, which is presentation for commercial development as well. And I'm curious as to what projections the government has made in terms of like, well, if we do commercial development, this is what the net gain will be to the city coffers. Is there going to be some kind of gain that accrues to the city because we allow commercial development in, whether it be real estate tax and whatever it's going to be, okay? As opposed to no development, we'll just we'll just put money out to develop an open green space with some of the guidelines that have been suggested without the commercial development. So how does the city benefit financially by doing commercial development as opposed to just residential development for the use of the city?
Well, in terms of development generally, clearly if you did not have any development happening on the site and you wanted to make the improvements that we're talking about in terms of public open space and improving parking and ways to the water, it would be in the red, obviously. It would be all public cost. Our estimates are that this development will pay for these improvements and for their ongoing maintenance, and we feel there's a very good chance there'll be a surplus on top of that to go into the city coffers. possibly to assist with, ongoing parking management improvements or other things the city's looking for. In terms of your aspect of your question about commercial versus, let's say, residential, we don't feel that the commercial space is necessarily the big moneymaker here. What will really carry these projects is probably the upper floor space, and that is probably residential. And that's also good from a planning standpoint, because planners are always seeking to get residents in currently underpopulated areas where there can be eyes on the street and activation 24 hours or at least 18 hours a day. The commercial space will contribute somewhat, but even more it will contribute in terms of activation of this public space.
My name is Matt Coughlin. I live at 22 Brumfield Street. The first thing I'd like to say is I think it's wonderful. I was actually surprised and heartened to see that it's a much more limited scale of development than I originally thought. And not because I think development is bad, but because I think it represents probably a true intent to balance the various interests in town. My 4-year-old son will be thrilled to be able to bike through town without having to get off at the boardwalk. He doesn't like that one bit. I guess my question, some people have been sort of leading up to this, but is the question of if the financial premise is that the two lots will cover the cost of everything else, is it possible that a situation will be created where it's basically your plan is nice, your plan is beautiful, your plan is great use, and you're the highest bidder, and the highest bidder gets it? Or it seems to me that to build in some sort of flexibility to allow an evaluation of who's bringing the best project is more complex than who's bringing the project that will pay for this without anybody having to do anything inconvenient or difficult.
I can answer that question. As a redevelopment authority, we have the flexibility to choose the best project, not just the highest price. Sort of the inverse of having to choose the lowest price. But we want to find the developer that actually gets it, has the money to make it happen, and understands what it is that really makes Newburyport so special. And I just want to dovetail a little bit on the economic thing. Besides just there's going to be a fair amount of property taxes that are generated from this project every year, but there's also the economic multiplier effect that will happen when you do have the added commercial and real estate and restaurant uses. Not to mention the restaurant local meals tax that we get every year now, which is a big help. Every bit of it helps.
Hi, I'm David Strand. I live on Plum Island, and I had a business at 10 Railroad Street in Newburyport. I guess my first question is, what took you guys so long? I mean, seriously, I don't want to be standing here 5 years from now looking at yet another plan, and I want to know how we as a community can get behind this awesome plan that you worked so hard on. What can we do to make sure that we're not doing this again?
I would just ask you to stay engaged and to come to our meetings every other Wednesday. We're there usually by ourselves with some of our friends who are in the audience right now. We'd love to hear other voices. We'd love to see some letters in the paper for support, public support, most importantly.
I think the biggest difference, if I can interrupt, Tom, I think the biggest difference of where we are today and where we were previously is that we've always worked off of this survey that how many surveys have each of us completed over the last 20 years, and identifying all the things that we've wanted in the park, less parking. What ENRA did that was brilliant this time is that they started with hiring Barry Abramson as the real estate person who came from a financial perspective and talked about to meet the goals of the community in terms of this particular park space. What is it going to cost? And then began to look at the history, what the waterfront was, and then how, by selling the smallest amount of property from the waterfront and enhancing and bringing it to the downtown, we can reach all of these goals, including a beautiful, open, I'm going to say it again, open waterfront